Screenwriters beat!
Yay!
We're back!
Look at our panel here, this talented crew of working screenwriters joining us once again for episode 44. Woo!
I tell you, I'm trying to tell you, we are professionals. I'm trying to tell you.
we are cranking them up there. And this will be a fun one because of all these episodes, we've never talked about dialogue and how to make your dialogue better, or some tips that we've picked up along the way. So we're gonna do it.
Nice.
Nice. But first, I'd like to welcome back our incredible panel of working screenwriters. Hello, Nicole Jones-Dion.
Hello,
What have you
and
been working on?
oh God, all kinds of stuff. Just rewrites, I got some new projects coming in. Get ready to launch a new web series, so we're going to be shooting the pilot for that in the next couple weeks.
Wow.
And
Nice.
starting up a new short film too. So it's a proof of
good.
concept. So yeah, always busy, lots of things going on.
Multiple projects. We like that. We like
Yeah.
it. Also, welcome back, Margaret Risley. Good to see you.
Hi, everybody. Great to be back. Yes, I missed you last time, guys. It was not fun.
Not fun for you. Yeah, we missed you too.
Yeah, not fun for me.
Oh, we had a blast. No play. I'm playing. I'm joking. And you are. I'm kidding. Of course you were Miss Maggie. You know that.
Thank you. Thanks, Eric.
What have you been up to?
Well, apart from helping our son renovate his house so that he could sell, I'm writing a thriller about two estranged American brothers held hostage in the Philippines. That's for a producer who wants to produce in Australia for Americans. So, looking good.
Nice.
Very
There we go.
And Eric Ingram, the extraordinaire, our lone man. Welcome back.
Da, 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 da.
Sometimes a few other guys, but you do are our flag bearer for all.
I know, right? Up with men. No, play. I know. No. Honored to be back in episode number 44. Oh my goodness! Wow. Really blessed. Don't get me wrong. Love doing the show. Love being with my esteemed panelists. We're always doing big things. So you guys inspire me to keep writing, keep going, keep figuring out new things and new places to go. So happy to be back. So happy to be back.
Cool. Well, what are you working on right now?
I just finished two assignments. One was a page 1 rewrite, and then another one kind of just came out of the blue from that. And then so the next 6 weeks going to be very productive. Let me just put it that way. There's about 3 or 4 assignments coming up. So
Awesome.
Cool. Very awesome.
That's great.
Hi guys, Ann Kimbrough back. Happy to be back with my crew. And I've also been doing a lot of writing. I've had the polishing that short film script, which has come along nicely, and everybody on the panel has been great and given fantastic feedback. Thank you guys.
most welcome.
Yeah. And also working on a spec script with another fellow writer, Tom Fryer. You guys know Tom.
Oh yeah.
Good guy. Yeah. So it's coming along really a comedy. Just a comedy. But it was a good idea, and we're having a lot of fun writing it.
Cool.
That's the beginning of everything, right? It's a good idea.
It's a good idea.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
Nice.
dialogue tips. I'm jumping to the next show already. But dialogue tips. All of us we've studied under a lot of really great people. So we don't want to repeat their lessons, but after you take what you've learned from others and you apply it to your writing, you apply it while you're working with producers, what are some tips that you've learned along the way? Eric, do you want to start?
Sure, I would love to. Biggest thing was, the old adage of go out and listen to people talk. That's where it kind of got started, because at first you usually the very first stuff that comes out especially like in the first draft or something like that, is really just surface stuff, right? They're at a coffee shop. Hey, did you go to the store? Did you see that yellow sweater? Like, all that stuff means nothing, right? But you got to get it out, because usually the next couple drafts, when you decide to focus on dialogue, you'll know more about the character, the way they say things, little quirks that they have, the things that they talk about, the tone, the rhythm of the movie. So all that stuff all informs dialogue. So if you have an action thing, you're not going to have a big soliloquy about, leaves falling in the park, right? You got an action movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if it's a romantic comedy, but if it's a romantic comedy or a period comedy or period romance or something like that, that may mean something to you. But until you kind of get into the character traits and all that kind of stuff, you kind of start hearing their voice.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I think real dialogue starts happening to get, and then move out the way. Mm-hmm. Because a lot of times you want to no, I want them to say this, I know, but they're saying no, that's not what I want to say. So say this, that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. So listen to that little voice. It's also good to work on one voice at a time. Kind of pull out their dialogue and look at it. And really use their traits, really use them, and allow them to push you out of your comfort zone, right? Because I wouldn't say a curse word, not Eric. Eric doesn't speak like that.
He's
right?
pure as driven snow.
I'm so pure as driven snow. Right? But the character is saying, no, right here, I feel like cursing somebody out, whatever. Let it go. So it's not you, it's the character. So learn to kind of get out the way.
Well, you have a couple of really good points there, is that it's not necessarily your first draft that you're going to have the best dialogue, right?
Of course.
Yeah,
Never.
Margie, can you write crap? You're just...
Absolutely. In fact, I don't like to write a lot of dialogue. When I start off, I concentrate more on the scene and what's happening in the scene rather than the dialogue. I want to get down what's happening in the scene first and then think about the dialogue. But first and foremost, like Eric said, character. I won't start a script until I know my characters really, really well, and immediately they inform the way that they're going to talk, obviously education, background, that sort of thing. Even where they fall within a family will change the way people talk. And like Eric said, go and listen to people. I worked for many, many years I had patients, and they all talk differently, and you just get used to hearing the different voices. So that's really helpful. But the other thing that I find really, really helpful is once you've actually written the dialogue, read it out aloud, and if you can get somebody else to read it with you, especially even somebody very trusted who's not going to who's not going to
See?
Yeah, he's not going to shit on your stuff.
See, sometimes it is you, and sometimes it's the character. And sometimes you just...
Yeah, but reading it out aloud, you can see what looks okay on the page doesn't come out easily verbally. Tongue twisters, things that you just an actor would just not want to say anyway. You just get rid of it. So that's I'll hand over to Nicole now.
Yeah. Well, I was just that's also a good point. But Nicole, you can follow up on that, or also how about genre-specific stuff? Do you approach it that way?
Oh yeah. I mean, especially he mentioned the example of period stuff in particular. That you're walking a very fine line with period because you still want it to be accessible to modern day audiences. Right. This is something I'm a challenge I'm having to face in a current assignment I'm working on because it's a period piece, and it's trying to find that balance between staying true to the time period but also staying true to your contemporary audience. But kind of going back to something that Margie said, I know my husband gives me grief for this all the time, but I move my lips when I'm typing because I'm reading I'm not saying it aloud, but I'm using I'm talking with the characters, and since I write out in public a lot, at coffee shops and stuff, I'm sure everybody there thinks I'm insane, but it's part of the process, and so that way you hear the voice in your head, but it's really important, like Margie was saying, to get other people to speak it aloud. And I for a while there, I was part of a writers group, and that's what we would do. We would bring in pages, and we would assign roles, and everyone, and you'd go in a nice, safe place, like somebody's house. Right. And then you would just act out the parts, and that's a good first step. But even one step beyond that, which is even better, if you can actually get real, genuine actors together to do a table read, that is invaluable, because they can show you all new depths of nuance and subtlety, and oh my God, I've overwritten this, and I don't need any of this dialogue because the actors are saying it just with their faces. You know, there's what you start to find out as you're working with professional actors is less is more when it comes to dialogue. And you really oftentimes a sign of a newbie writer is they overwrite the dialogue, and you don't need half of those words.
That's a good point. I just did a table read. Sorry, I did a table read for that my short film. With actors, real actors, really good actors, and it was the same thing. A lot of stuff you're like, oh, I don't need that. It's coming across, right, Margie?
Especially when there's subtext, when you've written subtext into the scene. You know, there's so much that you don't need to say. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and
another thing I see in a lot of scripts from like inexperienced writers is a lot of repetition. Like the people are saying the same things over and over again, just in slightly different ways. And it's like, no, figure out the real critical thing that you're trying to get across, and say it once, and say it the best possible way the first time. Don't because repeating it over and over doesn't give it emphasis; it just makes it boring.
Right.
Yeah, and actually
that too.
That sort of brings up a good point. Like when you write your first draft, it doesn't really matter so much what you put down in the dialogue. It's only when you go back and you do the rewrites, the second, third, fourth, whatever draft that you're going to do, the dialogue will get better and better. And like Eric said, you know, it helps to concentrate on one character at a time. So then you can pick up any inconsistencies, because like the writer does creep in after a while if you're not careful. The writer creeps into the character. So you concentrate on one character at a time, and you can see where it's you and not them. So that's the way to do it.
Do you ever do that, guys? Do you ever just read through one character's role basically and try to see if it's
absolutely hanging there? That's part of my rewrite process.
Me too.
Oh yeah, me too.
You know, in final draft, you pull out those character reports. Yep. And you scan each one.
Yep.
It's really too. If you just read only their dialogue, if you do that, just that's a great way to see what you're screwing up with one person's dialogue. Like, you want some repetition in like maybe how they speak, but not
what they say.
They gotta have some content, right?
Yeah.
Right. I think a lot of times it's I guess I would call it like a nervous tick, meaning like you start writing, right, and you want to say all these things. Right, but the character only needs to say, "Where is the library?" Right, because that's where the next clue is. Right, but we want to talk. We want to, know what the people behind us in the coffee line are saying, and what kind of cafe macchiato. Like, once they say what they need to say, the scene's over.
Yeah, shut up. Yep.
Right, but we want to give the response to something, or we want to add the reaction to something. If they say, you know what, the last time I saw John was at 4556 John Lane, cut. That's the only information that you need to go. Oh, and things I want to leave a tip. Come on, the actors may do that. No, the actors may do that on set. The actors may say something on set, like, we need to button this up nicely. But as the writer, you need to just move it. I wish there was somebody who would kind of do a thing about how actors improvise lines.
Yeah, it would be great to see.
We do have an interview on our screenwriting strategies with an actor, Bruce Gray.
Okay.
And he did talk a lot about, because he plays more like, he's in Crimson Peak right now, so he's like a professor in that. And he says he always comes in for that kind of role where he calls it laying pipe. He's laying pipe from this scene to that scene for the main character to get there,
Right.
And when he said it, he's done, and he knows that. So you're right. I should put a link for that interview. It was good.
Yeah, we did rehearsals last night for the web series that I'm doing, and we had one of the lead actors we did an improv cast where it's like, guys, don't even just ignore the script, just improv. You know the essence of what's going on in the scene, and some of the lines they came up because it's comedy. It's not, it's a little out of my.
But that's what you should do for comedy anyway.
And the stuff they came up with had everybody just falling out of their chairs. It was hysterical. So, I mean, I know a lot of that's going to end up making it into the finished product because it was really, really good. So don't underestimate the importance of a good actor. You know, even if you're just riffing off of them, you know, even if they're not going to be cast in your part, you know, that's what they're here for. They're a resource. You don't have to work in a vacuum all the time.
And it doesn't have to be actors either. You'd be surprised what people who know nothing about writing will come up with, the fantastic lines they'll come up with. Yeah. So it's definitely worth getting your stuff, you know, getting people to help you read it. Definitely worthwhile.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Oh, no, I was just saying because when you were talking to Nicole, you talked about the genre thing.
Yes.
And for comedy, you know, this is just because this is my thing. Well, one of them. So multi-talented.
Yes. Modest, really modest too.
So modest, so humble. No, but for instance, for comedy, I find this people. Everyone has their own style of humor, so that's first. That's very important because there's a writer you gotta have. Everyone's not Seinfeld, everyone's not Richard Pryor, everyone, you know, all these people, everyone has their style, okay? But the worst thing what happens with comedy a lot is people write to be funny rather than what the scene is saying or what needs to happen. So what you do is, so when you read a lot of comedy scripts, you go, what is this about? Like, I know, but it's a great line, right? I'm like, okay, but what is this about? Like, the story must continue, and a lot of, what's his name, Steve Kaplan, he has a great class, I'm sorry, I don't know, PR people, but on comedy, which is very, like, it comes from the character. That's why Ben Stiller's movies are so funny, right? Because he never really says anything that he wouldn't say. He may say some strange stuff, but it's straight from his character. That's the kind of character he is. He's a lovable loser. Always, the worst thing always happens to him. He starts out good, but something happens in the twist turn. Okay, that's what's supposed to happen. When you get a comedy where you could just start watching it, and it's like a lot of, you could just tell someone saying, that's a funny line. That's funny. But you lost what the scene was about.
Right, that's a good point.
Yeah.
It pulls you out. Right, it pulls you out of the scene.
What Nicole's doing, listen to all that, take notes, but then she's going to go back and make certain you deal with the story, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That's where you can be the writer.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, I know once upon a time, Erica, like we had a thing where I said, I think when I'm writing my action films, I try to write that line, which obviously usually comes out of the actor in the moment. But do we revisit this? Have you ever tried to write that line, the iconic line?
I think for action films, it's one of the things that's kind of expected. You have to have the one.
You need to have it in there.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, you're not going to know, but Eric, you don't even try. You were great action.
No, because the reason let me take that back. When you say try, to me that means force it. That's still what it means to me. No. That's not what you're saying. I know that's not what you're saying. But to me, when you go like, I'm gonna try to write an iconic line right here.
Right here.
This is the place for it.
Wherever it comes from, I mean,
it will come, but it will come out of what's happening, the conflict, the moment, the tension, and then all of a sudden, out of the blue, you know what, Johnny, I do like, beer, bam, like whatever that would be, right? That's the line, but it came out organically rather than, okay, on page 75 at the end of movie 5, I need a powerful, iconic line. I don't do that.
Those you see those in horror movies too. Usually during whatever that final confrontation is. Any type of film where I think where there's like a big confrontation between your protagonist and your antagonist. Usually you want the protagonist to say something memorable, and then then the antagonist dies.
Well,
But by the
go ahead, Mike.
side, who would have thought that "I'll be back" would be an iconic line? You know, it's just the way it's delivered.
Yeah,
so,
well, that's the
Right.
part you can't know.
Right.
But I
Right.
think sometimes you do have to remember that a lot of us are just writing for the reader and not
Right.
the final product, and the
Right.
reader will see that and know, you know, maybe. So remember the reader.
Most good lines, most not everything. You know, there's always creativity and there's always new ways to do it. But usually the line was said to the protagonist in an evil way earlier.
We set up earlier, yes.
And so at that moment, he or she flips it against the antagonist.
Well, see right there, you've got a formula to write on, which is useful.
Right, which is what was. It will come with a whole layer of like symbolism and like I got a lot of things going through the script, so it'll come back to the setup payoffs. This is a line like that is one of us. I consider it a setup payoff.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's a good truth right in there is that any good dialogue throughout the script has to come organically from the scene, and you know, like you said,
Absolutely.
any of it that's forced, you should rewrite it.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think the biggest thing I learned was is to also print it out, right? Print it out and look at it like as a script in your hand. And I think it was Toni Morrison. I think it's who said this. He said, "I write at the computer, but I rewrite all around the house."
Interesting.
Right, so you take the script and go walk or go sit somewhere else, and then edit with the red pen or whatever. But I think and I do that with dialogue. Like I walk around the house as that person, and I see what comes out. Because I'm an actor too, though. But I'm an actor too, so I could go there.
Have you ever taken an acting class? I mean,
I'm a Meisner. I'm 3 years Meisner. Like I've done some stuff now. I did off Broadway, and I can. Many times. I wish if I had a martini right now, I'd be swinging it right.
Anyone else take an acting class just to improve their writing?
I'm not in an acting class per se, but I do these weekly workshops with actors, and that has helped immensely just in learning the way that actors approach scenes and how they, the mindset that they get into and everything. It's because I'm a horrible actress and I don't belong in front of a camera, so that's not a place for me, but I have a lot of respect for the people who do.
Oh yeah.
Margie, how about you? Take a class?
No, where I live, there are no other writers, let alone actors.
You could start it. You don't know what you would.
Yeah.
Well, it's something to think about. It's also a great way to network if you're in an area with actors, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And that, to know this about actors, forget all the crazy stories you hear about, how whatever finicky, picky, mean they are, right? A lot of actors, they love to do this because they know it's practice for the big role, practice for Broadway, practice for whatever, right? So I don't want to deal with actors. Trust me when I tell you, for every crazy story you hear about, there are a lot of hardworking people who will help you out free. You know what I mean? They want a good piece of something. They can help you out. Of course, they may say, "Hey, if this happens, maybe we could get a part." Sure, it's business. They're gonna ask that, and that's not a bad thing. Especially if they knock it out the box in the read. You're like, wow, I didn't really even these colors that you're adding to these my words. I didn't even think of, and oh my God. So just don't be afraid to go up to actors and ask, because trust me, they are some of the best. They are very hardworking people out there. Trust me.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. Any other dialogue tips you guys want to throw in there?
I kind of look at. I hate like orphans. Let's talk about that. When you have like 3 lines and then a word on the 4th line, right?
The way it appears on the page.
The way it appears on the page, very important because, you know, the old adage is what? Producers take the thing and flip it, right? They do the whole flip thing and see where there's a bunch of ink and all that kind of stuff, right? So every line that you can get rid of is better. That's one thing. And the other thing is usually, you know, take out all highs and hellos. Yeah, hello, Bobby. Hello, Jane. Oh, my God. No. They know each other, but they're brother and sister. They're brother and sister. They know each other already. You know that?
Oh, yeah. And exposition in dialogue. Oh, that's one of my pet hates. Oh, this is my, you know, you are my sister. Like,
or there's that line like, remember when we were talking about?
You know, the biggest thing for me is don't ever have the characters say exactly what they're thinking. Or what it's like, and every scene should have some sort of tension in it, some sort of conflict. You need to have two characters that are trying to accomplish things that put them in conflict with each other. If everyone in your scene is getting along and they're best friends and they're having a good time, you've got a boring scene. So introduce some sort of level of conflict. Never have them say exactly what they're thinking. Subtext is king. And just everything's got to have conflict or it's boring.
Ooh, may I ask you all a question?
Sure. Yeah.
May I ask you guys? Okay, so you guys are doing a rewrite job, right? I send you a script. You guys are rewriting it for me, right? Okay, so just what Nicole was talking about. A lot of my scenes do not have conflict in it, you know. They're just very nice scenes, sweet scenes. They don't move. They're not going anywhere. In terms of dialogue, we could do the whole scene and twist, and let's just stick with the dialogue because that's what today's show is about. What things would you do to the dialogue to elevate it?
Well, I think the first thing you need to do is figure out what everybody's hoping to accomplish from that scene. All the characters are trying to accomplish by being in that scene, and make sure they've got secrets that they're trying to hide from the other characters, an agenda that they're trying to push forward.
You could also start by breaking down what you think their character traits are. That would help a lot with what they're talking about. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and make sure somebody's challenging something. You know, somebody that they've got. If there's no challenge to anybody in the scene, it's just not working.
Cut the scene. Delete it.
Okay, so you would work on the traits, character traits, right? Or figure those out, or hone those in, and make sure everything is right. Up the conflict, right? And then
figure out what the scene is about. You know,
figure out what it's about. Okay.
Yeah.
And the obstacle that's in there, right? Okay. And then so I need a scene cut from 3 pages to 1. What would you do? Grant it with all that stuff we all just said. Just grant it. I need it down to 1 page.
Start later and sooner, and just make sure that if there's any repetition, get rid of the repetition. If there's one of the things I'll do in my initial passes, and then I try to correct it as I go, is where I'll have a character say something, and then the other character will ask a question, which is basically, you know, what do you mean I'm not good enough? And then just get rid of all that shit. You don't need
right.
Not necessary. Right. Yeah.
But it's like, because sometimes you write the way you think, or you write the way you hear people talk, and the idea, you know, like at the very beginning we were talking about, go to places and listen to people talk. That's great, but don't ever actually write the way people talk, because the way people talk is boring.
That is true.
Your goal is to make it sound realistic, but better than real life.
Yes. Right.
Yeah. Well, if you also go back to what that essence of that scene is, and focus on a dialogue that's just handling that the best, because sometimes you'll have repetition in a scene, and you'll go, oh, well, it's really right here, or whatever that is. That can help you cut a lot of stuff out if you look at not just the dialogue of it, but the action just for that scene, right? You could easily lose pages.
We could do a whole show just on rewrite.
We should. Rewrite. Yep. Did we get the job, Eric? Did we get the job?
All 3 of you, and you know what? And that's exactly what's happening in Hollywood right now too, right? They'll give a job to 3 writers and see who comes up the best.
That's true.
Yeah, absolutely.
True.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Great. I didn't even know we could come up with this much fabulous dialogue advice. I expect everybody to be out there rewriting, right?
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Thank
And
you.
one other point is, don't just accept the first, like if you come up with a line of dialogue, don't just accept the first way that it came out. Look, like there's a great book called Make Your Words Work. I think I've recommended this before, Gary Provost or something. Make Your Words Work. And it teaches you to arrange your sentences so that the impact is on the final word or the final little bit.
Right.
It is very important. So make sure that your
maybe it's a novice in me, but I do look at sentence structure when I try to make voice. I want to make characters sound different. One of the easiest ways is in their sentence structure.
That's very true.
Someone could go on and on. Some could just be verb, subject verb.
Some talking cliches, others, twist the cliche to come up with something clever. So it's lots of different ways.
When I just thought of this, it just came up because Maggie said that. Sometimes what I do is I'll name the character whatever their little certain trait is. Now, when it's time to finish, when it's time to do the polish, I'll put the right names in. But when I see somebody like snarky, right, I know that everything they're saying should be snarky. Everything they say. And then by the end, you go and put their real name, whatever, But that way I don't have to keep looking back and forth at the character traits, whatever their strong personality is, I got that. I see how they look, I see how they dress, I see how they talk, all that kind of stuff. But that one overriding thing that makes them different than everyone else, I'll name the character that while I write it.
That's a good idea. The other thing is, one other thing, I always try to write through their attitude, their feeling within that scene. They've got a dominant attitude. I know they've got dominant traits, but they've also got a dominant attitude that they live life through. But that can change with the way they feel. So get inside your characters' heads, really and truly, really deep, and feel what they're feeling, and then it helps. Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah. Very cool. Guys, great discussion on dialogue. I wanted to get to, we're not doing a game. I'm kind of taking a game hiatus.
Why? Why? Sorry.
Yeah. Complain. You guys hate the game.
I know, right?
I've listened to the masses, and we're going to do an audience question.
That's cool.
This is this is something that we should all be doing, right? The question is, what is the last script that you read? Margie, what's the last?
I read just yesterday. I read Trainwreck, and talking about dialogue, I read Trainwreck by Amy Schumer. Of course, she's a comedian, and it's all dialogue. I mean, even the description, where there's very little description, even where it is, it's very tight and snappy. But the dialogue was amazing in that. Mostly one character, I think, stood out. But
probably her character.
yeah.
that would make sense. Yeah. Oh, that's cool. Good one to read. Eric, how about you?
I just read two of them actually. I just read The Fugitive again, because that's what I have to work on, and then John Wick, because I'm doing an action kind of thing right now. So, and my emergency. My scripting in emergency case is always bored, so whenever I need to, that's always ready to go. That's always ready to fire.
All of them, all bookmarked.
Right, exactly. Yep.
Those are good ones. Cool. Nicole, what's the last script you read?
Well, just because I'm doing research now for this period project, so I have two as well. It's The Last Samurai and.
And what was the second?
Sherlock Holmes. The Guy Ritchie.
Oh, okay, cool. I bet that has some great some great action.
It's really because he's an interesting writer. The way does things. It's very visual on the page. You totally get a sense, you know. And I liked the Sherlock Holmes movie. I thought it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Love the Last Samurai script. Love that. The description is incredible.
Well, actually, the last script I read was a fellow writer. It was just a short script. So those are always fun to read, too.
Of course.
Yeah, although my go-to one is always Michael Clayton. Tony Gilroy. I love it. He's got the best character descriptions. If you want to say, how can I write a really great character description? Michael Clayton.
But also, I mean, I know this might be another show, but
yes.
A lot of writer-directors, they have incredible character descriptions. Like Peter Berg, oh my God. Oh my God. I mean, it's like 5, 6, 7 words. You're like, oh my God, like I see it. Like, you know, just.
Yeah. Well, and Peter Berg was an actor, so there's
exactly. You see, exactly.
For that.
Yes, yes.
A Few Good Men, that's got some great character descriptions.
Well, it was a stage play first. Who wrote it?
Oh, was it?
I'm going to have to Google it. I can't remember who wrote it. That's so bad.
Yeah, me neither.
Someone Google that. Nicole's our Googler. Are you on your...
Oh, am I supposed to be Googling?
No. I know it was a stage play, and I had a feeling that person translated it, too, or adapted it.
Well, Rob Reiner directed it, so I'm just trying to think of the... Well, it's not a Ludlum. It's not a Robert Ludlum part, is it?
Aaron Sorkin.
Aaron Sorkin.
Oh, was it?
Sorkin.
Was it really?
Say that. That makes sense. I just couldn't think that was him. Think how far back that guy is. Just awesome.
Yeah. It's like he was born brilliant.
He was. He was.
I love it. Talking dialogue. My God.
Yeah. Yeah. Although even he got hit lately for something. It's like, what? You're putting down Aaron Sorkin. Stop it.
Yeah. Them fighting words.
Yeah, them is fighting words. Oh, gosh. Well, guys, we've come to the end of another episode. Although I'm going to have you share a little bit as you say goodbye. I want you to share a universal truth that you've incorporated into your writing, either for just writing in general or your genre. Anybody? Margie, you look the least confused.
Okay. Oh, do I? Ooh. I think find the heart. Like when you come up with a concept, find what it is about it that really interests you. And I think that's where your theme comes from. In fact, that's what I'm dealing with at the moment with this thriller. I know it's about sibling rivalry. And I think if you find the heart that's driving the story, that's your theme, and that's what you need to concentrate on. That's my words for the day.
I love it. Bravo.
I totally agree. Can I just say I agree with Margie, and then that's my theme of the day.
I'm going to let Eric go last because I'm going to say ditto. What I wrote down was that it's the emotion. Like if I'm writing something funny, I better make myself laugh. If I'm writing something suspenseful, I better be scared. If I'm writing a romance, I better be romantically. Twitter. But Eric, you always.
Wait 1 second. No, Nicole, you can't get off with that. No.
What?
No.
What I was going to say?
No, that's not. No. Maggie was the genius, and you can't ride on that. Come on, you got something. Anything.
You're stalling, Eric. You're stalling.
I know I am.
That's the subtext in that scene. So you saw what happened there. There was conflict. There was subtext.
Okay, all right. Okay, I got one. It's really about comedy, but it's also a life thing. And every little joke, every little bit of humor, there's a little bit of truth.
Yeah. Yes. Very
right?
good.
So in every little bit, there's some pain, there's some truth. There's some comedy, there's some truth. So in your story, whatever it is about, make sure there's some truth in it.
Right, and it has to be our truth, so it
Yes,
should hurt
exactly.
a little. If it's hurting
Yes.
a little, it's good, right?
Yes, that's right.
I
Yes.
think you could bring the gravity to this.
Well, I do what I do. That's what I do.
Guys, thanks again. I appreciate you doing what you do, every single one.
Oh.
So we'll say a big goodbye and catch you on the next show. But thanks, guys, for watching. Thanks, Nicole.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Good
See you
talking
later.
to you.
44 down, 44 more to go.
Thanks, Eric. Bye.